And here we go. All right, my name is Celeste McMichael, and I'm the Director for Client Solutions with True. And you are joining one of our True community calls, which are new this year in 2021. Our goal for these calls is to foster the True community by sharing real life challenges and success stories, as well as resources and updates that will hopefully help all of you, our True community, to grow and work in the marketplace. We also want you to connect with each other. So please feel free to use the chat box to introduce yourselves and virtually network if you like. We will be taking questions at the end of the webinar, so you're welcome to put those in the chat as well. Today, we have some exciting things planned for you. We will first be hearing an update from our certification team from Emily DeCramer and Michaela Jewell. And then we will also be chatting with Meredith Danberg Ficarelli, who's joining us today from Common Ground Compost. We are going to be focusing on the role of the True Advisor to make sure that everyone has all the tools and resources they need to make their certificate a success and learn about how it can support the certification process. So thanks so much to all our great speakers that are here today. So we're going to start with the certification team update, and then we'll move on to the True Advisor deep dive and hear from Meredith, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and breakout sessions and networking. So now I will go ahead and turn things over to the certification team for their updates. Certification team, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Michaela Jewell. I'm here to give you a quick overview of the progress True has made over the years and how we will continue to grow moving forward. So despite the pandemic, we are still seeing exponentially increased commitments and leadership within True across industry types. In 2021, we've seen the most registrations in 7 months than we've seen in any other year alone, meaning that we've surpassed all previous annual totals in a little over half a year. We currently have 120 projects registered with True. This is the most ever, and we are continuing to see that number grow. However, we know some of you are still dealing with a variety of challenges related to the pandemic. Many facilities participating in True altered or halted operations for the safety of their staff. Our efforts to respond to the pandemic have focused on providing you industry-specific resources and process adaptations, with the goal of steadying the ship while focusing on health and safety of all people involved in resource management and certification activities. In a series of articles, we compiled and shared resources offering specific guidance on best practices to make health and safety an even stronger priority while still maintaining a high level of diversion performance. We also had articles outlining how the True rating system inherently provides avenues to address the COVID-19 crisis, keeping health and safety in mind. In addition, we wanted to make sure all of you know that we have adapted our certification process and requirements to ensure that your certification stays on track. First, we immediately amended the review process to eliminate our on-site assessment in order to help maintain social distance. Second, we have flexibility for project data and credit requirements. So we developed solutions and adaptations to help facilities continue their pursuit or maintenance of True certification despite operational impacts of the pandemic. We understand that diversion performance may be impacted at this time due to circumstances out of your control. GBCI is here to help and is working with all registered and certified projects on solutions to address these challenges while keeping on track for certification. So for example, it's okay to have some months with zeros in your 12-month diversion data set because no one was on site. If you feel like certification is out of reach due to the pandemic, definitely reach out to us with a description of your situation and how your diversion performance is being impacted, and we will try to determine a solution for you. For certified projects, GBCI will also grant requests for extensions to submit annual data or lengthen the reporting period. If you're a certified project and can no longer meet one or more of the True MPRs due to the pandemic or for any reason, you should contact GBCI describing the situation and which MPRs are affected. GBCI is dedicated to supporting you with these challenges while also helping you retain your certification, and solutions may be available. We encourage all certified projects to keep in touch with GBCI, even if your diversion performance has been negatively impacted or you no longer meet the minimum requirements. So bottom line, if you're holding off on submitting your application for true certifications due to impacts of COVID-19, you may not have to, so definitely reach out to us at true@gbci.org. Lastly, if you're aiming to achieve true certification or pre-certification by the end of 2021, make sure that you plan accordingly to have everything ready and submitted at the right time. Our How to Meet Your Certification Goal Date, which our article should be here in the chat, discusses the breakdown of our true certification timeline, which is also applicable to true pre-certification. The article includes this table shown on your screen that gives examples of timelines and milestones, such as for an end of the year certification. So to be certified by the end of 2021, you're looking at wanting to submit all of your documentation by mid-October. Next, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Emily, to give you a preview of a new offering from True coming soon.
Thanks, Michaela. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all and hear you all. I'm here today to give you all a sneak peek of our new portfolio approach, which we'll be releasing in the coming weeks. There's nothing posted on our website yet about it. And we don't have any information available, such as fees and stuff quite yet. So this is truly a sneak peek just for you. So I hope you all feel very special. But big picture, we've been seeing a lot of organizations that are minimizing their resource consumption and preventing waste across their multiple properties, transforming both themselves and the future of resource management by applying zero waste strategies at scale within their portfolio. And True has always been popular with these portfolios. In fact, 154 of our 214 pre-certified and certified projects are from portfolios. And also in the last year, engagement with these new portfolios has really been ramping up. So there's been a need to create a more efficient and cost-effective process to recognize this sort of transformational leadership with our program, but also to more readily enable portfolios to apply the zero waste framework provided by the True rating system across their entire portfolio. So this year, the True team has been working on a portfolio approach that offers an alternate streamlined documentation submittal and verification process by focusing on the similarities between multiple buildings that are striving to recognize their zero waste accomplishments. Leveraging these similarities, participants benefit from the economies of scale while also achieving recognition faster than they would have otherwise. The True portfolio approach will be available to multiple buildings on different sites, or for campuses certifying their site incrementally, building by building. To gain from the efficiency offered by the portfolio approach, portfolios must have the following characteristics to participate. First, have a minimum of 5 projects. Second, have a designated portfolio manager or small group of managers. Third, all projects should be owned or managed by one organization. And finally, there should be some portfolio-wide standardized processes and policies in place to maximize the number of credits that will be the same for all projects within the portfolio. The process will be a combination of processes from other GBCI programs, borrowing especially from LEAD, for those of you that are familiar with LEAD. I'm going to give just a quick sneak peek overview now, but all the details will be available in the coming weeks. So first, the organization will define its portfolios or portfolios, if there's multiple portfolios or multiple groupings of sites, and where it stands towards True certification using a new tool that we will be releasing soon. Once the portfolio is defined, the organization will then enroll it online and attend a portfolio orientation session with True staff. Then the organization will submit portfolio level documents and sample documents for some of their projects. After a review, they will receive a catalog of pre-approved MPRs and credits that can be used by individual projects in the portfolio. The organization will then register individual projects at discounted rates and submit a lesser amount of documentation for each project based on the results of the portfolio review. After the first 3 projects are reviewed with this lesser amount of documentation, Projects will only have to submit documentation for some projects that are selected for an audit based on the sampling rate. The other projects that are not selected for an audit will submit a very limited amount of information and receive a light review only. And then after each review is complete, each project will earn the true recognition they were pursuing, and then they will maintain that generally according to the standard maintenance guidelines. So as I said, more details on how the process will work and how to enroll will be released via a detailed guidance document and posted on our website in the coming weeks. However, we will be putting a one-pager in the chat, giving a high-level overview. Again, this is hot off the press. We haven't put it out there yet, so you guys are the first to see it. We will also be holding a virtual event in September, which will go through this new approach in detail. And we'll be making the registration available for that on our website and via an email announcement soon. So if you haven't already, be sure you're signed up to receive True emails so that you can get the announcement. You can sign up to be on our email list at our website, true.gbci.org. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Celeste.
Thanks so much, Emily and Michaela. That was great and super helpful. Okay, so now we're going to dig in a little bit more on the True Advisor. So for those of you that are maybe newer to the program or hoping to learn more, the True Advisor is a module-based training program plus a professional certificate that we have as part of our program. So in addition to a building certification, we have this professional certificate that can be achieved. It's a great dive into zero waste concepts and practices, especially with ideas such as bin right sizing, waste audits, and more. I always recommend it to folks, not just for the opportunity to receive the professional certificate, although that is a nice opportunity, but really for the practical zero waste education it provides. And it is an online on-demand course that can be done at your own pace from home, which is a really nice benefit as well. So you may be wondering what types of folks we see taking the True Advisor, and here are some examples. We see a lot of students. We also see a lot of career development or career transition. This has been especially significant during the pandemic, I would say. We have a lot of consultants that go through the program, sustainability professionals, facilities and waste management staff, which is not surprising, supply chain professionals, designers and planners, folks that work in the building industry, and more. We do get the question on benefits to the True Advisor a lot. And I kind of see two sides to this. I think on one hand, it can be a really great way to boost business from a professional standing and sort of like increase the services available. And we'll hear a little bit more about that when we jump into our conversation with Meredith. But also having the True Advisor is a really great way to help with the certification process for facilities. So if that is the ultimate goal, I think this is a really good place where the True Advisors fit in. True Advisors understand the certification process and what to expect quite a bit better than those who haven't engaged in the program. And that's one of the reasons why we encourage all of our projects to work with a True Advisor and even offer a point for it in the rating system. True Advisors are going to have a better understanding of the credits and what needs to happen in order to earn them. This is going to lead to less errors and less pending credits with clarification requests from assessors during the review process, and can often lead to a reduced need for calls with GBCI to ask questions and a quicker certification turnaround in general. Overall, we typically see higher quality applications and documentation from projects that are working with True Advisors, and also more comfortability and confidence during the process. After passing the True Advisor, you can still access all the content to go back and re-review modules, look at examples of documentation and case studies and more. So that all that information is still very much at your fingertips, which is great. From a business growth perspective, we see how having the True Advisor gets consultants more business. With so many zero waste and net zero commitments being made from companies that are around the world, the True Advisor is a great service to add on to a business. Consultants who are True Advisors and help their clients with certification will typically engage with us regularly with the same or new clients. They are going to produce the highest quality submissions and make it easier and smoother for everyone involved. So it's a great opportunity to, get that zero waste education and create a smoother process for the certification. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the True Advisor in general. But for now, we're going to pivot a little bit and let's bring Meredith online. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can talk to her a little bit more about her business. So welcome, Meredith.
Hey, hi everybody. Thanks, Celeste.
I'm going to spotlight you for everyone. How do you
All
feel about
right.
that?
Front and center.
Awesome. So Meredith, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really happy to have you on board.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Happy to be
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and Common Ground Compost?
Sure. I'll start. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. I studied anthropology in undergrad, and I have a master's degree in urban policy and sustainability analysis that I got from the New School 2011, early 2012 was, I guess, when they handed over that degree. And I've always been interested in sort of the environment and I guess sort of the overlay of different types of infrastructure and systems. One of the things that bothered me the most kind of before I fell into garbage was the waste that exists more broadly, and imagining gyms in cities that use electricity instead of generating power from people, using treadmills and elliptical machines, or HVAC systems that pump extra heat into our existing urban heat islands rather than reclaiming that heat. So I think I've always been interested in waste generally, but it wasn't until I was in my master's program that I was placed to volunteer with an organization that needed help. They wanted to learn more about zero waste and figure out how to get there. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll figure out how to do that. So it was I was helping out a restaurant that was already a farm to table restaurant, already had very little waste, and ended up teaching myself how to do a waste audit by reading a bunch of waste audit reports, and found that 95% of their waste was food scraps, and the remainder, pretty amazing. For anyone who hasn't done a waste audit before, that is a very high organic percentage, and very little of it was edible food. It was mostly scraps, which of course can always be reduced, but still. So fast forward, after that project, I had a couple different jobs in New York, and then I landed helping Laura Rosenshine, who founded Common Ground Compost. She hired me sort of at the end of 2015 to help her. The goal was really to take the company to the next level. She had launched this organization essentially after having seen demand from small businesses that she was working with as she was transitioning out of her advertising career and into waste. She sort of had also caught the bug. And she found that there were businesses that needed help consulting. There were businesses that needed help with zero waste events. And she was actually riding her own bicycle collecting food scraps from some small businesses in the East Village. And roughly that's what we're still doing. We have 5 divisions now. So we have our consulting division, which is where a lot of this true stuff comes in. So we'll talk about that in a second. We have an events division, where we're focusing on events. And that has obviously been significantly impacted by COVID. We have a micro hauling division, so we're collecting food scraps by bicycle. We have electric assist cargo trikes, and we're collecting in Manhattan. We don't cross the bridges because we can't control when the Department of Transportation puts up the bollards, and we could get locked on the wrong borough on the other side of a bridge. So we're not going to mess with that. We have a newer division that Jesse from our team is building and going to be launching soon called Waste in the Community, which is what's going to be housing essentially our advocacy and education work. And we are building a brand new division focused on data and metrics management. So all of these things come together to help businesses divert waste from landfills. And, as a growing company, it's been important for us to try to streamline things. It's been important for me to not be the only one that has all the answers as the one kind of running the show. And, I'm incredibly grateful to my team who are excellent and are really allowing us to do that. So that's the background, I think. Yeah.
only in New York with those bollards, right? You wouldn't really
Yeah.
find that in too many places, I think.
Right. Right.
That's great. You mentioned your team, and how big is your team right now? How much? I feel like you guys have been growing quite a bit.
Growing, yeah, COVID obviously impacted that too. Late 2019, we were at our biggest and really continuing to move forward. Our microhauling program that specifically focuses on serving corporate offices. We have kind of a white glove like concierge service that we offer. That was really carrying us into early 2020. And no one could have anticipated that line on our on our projections was going straight up, and then it was zero.
Yeah.
So right now we have 4 full-time and 4 part-time team members. And the part-time team members that we have, we all started part-time, and those of us that are full-time have grown into full-time positions. And that's kind of one of the ways that it works with small company development. And everyone does a little bit of everything. The folks that have become full-time employees within the last few years actually all started as micro haulers. They all joined the team riding the trike because that's where the most of our needs were. Gwen is now kind of running the micro hauling division. Jonas is running the micro hauling division and also doing our bookkeeping and our accounting. And Will is our data and systems analyst. And they all still, will share responsibilities as needed. And then our other team members, Jesse's running our waste in the community division. Candace is they're becoming our office manager and dealing with our events. Mike is one of our micro haulers, and Joe is one of our zero waste educators. And yeah, so it's fun. Everybody participates in the success of this operation. So. Yeah.
That's amazing. You have mentioned the phrase micro haulers a couple times, and I'm just wondering, there might be some newer people on our call that might not be super familiar with that term. Do you want to, in your own words, explain what that is exactly?
Sure thing. And I just dropped a couple links into the chat so folks can poke around there. Common Ground Compost is our parent company. That's where, all of our operations exist legally. And then we also own reclaimedorganics.org and officecomposting.com, which were essentially just URLs initially. Now they're doing business as, so, we can legally operate under those business names as well. So microhauling, to go a little bit down that track, micro scale collection of materials. That's the simplest definition. We are obviously focusing on the collection of organics. In our work, we focus on all waste streams, but when we're doing collections, we're only collecting organics. And we are one of now hundreds of small companies across the country and across the world who are managing organics at a community scale. There are micro haulers who are collecting organics using generally smaller vehicles. Our definition of micro hauling, in our company is only bicycles, only electric assist, cargo tricycles in our case. Other micro haulers use small vehicles. They might use Sprinter vans. Other community scale compost haulers might have trucks. So you don't have to use a bike to be a micro hauler. Micro processing is the kind of counterbalance to micro hauling. Where's all that material going? So we also process and make compost in the East Village of Manhattan. And we collect more than we can process ourselves. So we pay a bill to a commercial waste hauler who collects from us. Again, at that peak, kind of at the beginning of 2020, we had 5 different consolidation points. So imagine like a hub and spoke model where we were collecting material, consolidating it in 64-gallon totes, and then haulers were collecting from us and billing us monthly for that. We're down to only 1 consolidation point now because so much of our operation has shrunk due to lockdown. And we were focusing on offices because that was a really, really smart growth strategy. You can never anticipate what's going to happen in the world, folks. I can go into a little bit of a tangent about micro hauling kind of and advocacy and the policy work that we do. There are micro haulers that have been operating in New York City, again, with either trikes or with small vehicles for quite some time now, anywhere from 5 to 10 years worth of operations. And the niche exists because not every business is scaled appropriately for a 64-gallon compost tote or multiple 64-gallon totes and a truck to come and pick up from them. A hotel, that has 4 restaurants in it, absolutely needs to have hopefully a loading dock, first of all, because even New York has a major space constraint where a lot of buildings in New York weren't constructed with any waste storage. So those of us garbage nerds here recognize that it's a huge problem. Waste infrastructure ends up being stored anywhere. Sometimes they can't even fit containers, so it's just piles of bags everywhere. And talk about a feast for rats. Nobody wants that. So micro hauling really exists for the small cafes, the individual restaurants, a bodega or an individual office that's in a building that doesn't have organics collection infrastructure. That's where our white glove concierge service is coming in. And ideally, we would work to transition those buildings so that we no longer need to be offering that individual service to one tenant. Ideally, we're working with the whole building, but not every property manager, not every site is ready for that, nor do they maybe have the budget or the corporate goals structure to be able to move in that direction. But that's where we want to work ourselves into obsolescence. Call me crazy, but I'd really love to see that world where you don't need folks teaching people how to do this and offering those services. We also participated in the development and launch of the Micro Haulers and Processors Trade Association here in New York City. The commercial waste legislation is shifting, has already shifted legally, and the implementation phase is going to be beginning in the next year or two. And micro hauling has existed as a legal gray area in New York City. And we've all been operating because there's been demand for our services and we have people that we can employ to do the work, but there hasn't really been a legal environment for us to operate within. So what that means realistically is that any given moment, someone could call us up and say that we would have to stop doing our work. And that is no way to be operating a business. So thankfully, it's after August 6th. So the deadline has already passed. Rather, the license now exists as of August 6th for a micro hauler to be able to legally operate in the city. They have to apply for a micro hauling license, which is different than the license that a truck might need. I won't go down the rabbit hole right now of the challenges that we see with the structure that exists there, which is not something that we see as equitable for the folks that are trying to do this work. Very, very significant barriers to entry and hurdles that need to be done, basically because the standards that are set are those that were built for commercial waste haulers. And in New York City, there's a past of racketeering and organized crime in the waste industry that doesn't really exist in the micro hauling industry. But we're held to the same exact standards. So that's a struggle there, but I'll leave it at that. And if folks want to talk more about that in the breakout groups, we can.
That's great. That's so interesting. I mean, there's so many different nuances and elements of working in this business. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why I really love it is because there's so many different sides to the story and so many different angles and roles that people play in the elimination of waste. But I really loved what you said also about the idea of, working towards obsolescence, because of course, like so much of our goal and here at True, we want to eliminate the idea of waste, right? Like we want that to no longer be something that is in the world, that then you think about it and you're like, oh, but yeah, that in part, that's kind of like running yourselves out of business in a way. But I think the reality is there always are going to be these material streams, right? It's just kind of like repositioning and repurposing how we're managing those materials. And that's why this type of work and this type of conversation is so important.
There's a lot of work to be done too, to get ourselves to that point.
Yeah. Nowhere near that. Nowhere near obsolescence yet.
New York City is only capturing a drop in the bucket or a scrap in the tote of, what the opportunity is. And, we don't have enough processing capacity to be able to manage all the material, even if it were collected tomorrow. So there's a lot that needs to be done.
Wow. Well, you guys have done so much awesome work and are involved in so many different facets of this industry. To pivot a little bit, you have recently put your whole team through the True Advisor program. What was your motivation for doing that, and how do you see that kind of playing a role in the work that you guys are continuing to do?
Yeah, I sort of see it as like having graduated to a new tier of operations, where in the first couple of years of running this business, it was a scrappy operation where it was always a challenge to know, how we're going to make payroll next. I mean, it's just one of the realities of running a small business. Focusing and building our consulting division. Sorry, you can hear my dogs in the background. Certainly helped with that. Also, those office services that I was mentioning, part of being a growing business has meant that we have been able to essentially budget for professional development. And our entire team, no one joins our team if they don't care about trash, right? Like what we do is if we work with waste day in and day out and think about waste when we're not working. At least I do. It's not a requirement of employment here, but we generally tend to draw in characters that are that way.
Skill.
Yeah, and I mean, we put it on a preferred qualifications tier in a job description for sure. Garbage nerds. So, I think there was already a baseline interest in this, and as kind of as a leader here, I wanted to be able to offer the team the opportunity to get this certification, whether they stick with us or not. Honestly, I think we're recognizing global trends that it's important for businesses to support and foster growth, and to create an environment in a company that is welcoming and supportive of their teams. And I wasn't really sure how folks would react. I wasn't sure if folks would consider it a required task for them, or if it was something that they would actually really want to do as a personal and professional development piece of their lives. We are counting the time that our team is spending to get the certification as work time. So they are tracking those hours in their timesheets and they're being paid for that time. And it was important to us as a company because having true advisors on a team is starting to become a baseline criterion for some larger companies that are looking for zero waste consulting guidance or zero waste services of any kind. They're looking for true. And so it was, I had the certification already. I was already an advisor when we signed on some of our larger clients, but it became, we're a growing company. We need more people doing this work. We do not need our micro haulers who are riding our trikes to be true certified, but it does, it offers them that value. Maybe they do want to go try something different in their lives. And if we can contribute to that, I feel good about that. But it also creates a standardized baseline within our own company where, we're not saying that this is a requirement for every individual in order to join, but we are asking, and actually our newest hire asked if they could become true certified. It wasn't something that I asked them to do, because it is this new standard that exists now that we can point to as a baseline of education that folks can absorb in order to be able to answer random questions that come to them or talk to their friends about. Every friend that I have asked me about trash. I'm sure everyone else on this call is the same way. And I learned things in the true certification course. So I think that's part of it too, is being able to kind of solidify that expert moniker.
Well, I love looking at it as a value too, of really creating that baseline because it's mission driven. Like what you're doing is very much like mission driven, and kind of creating that understanding and fostering that culture is a huge part of it. And also thinking about the diversification of efforts that you guys are taking on, challenges with the pandemic, challenges with infrastructure, and just, which ways you can grow the business. And this is kind of an opportunity for your team to be able to grow and develop individually, but then, professionally and as an organization. It just seems, it just seems like you have such a great outlook on it, and such an amazing thing that you're offering your team to be able to do that and get paid for it. And the fact that you're sponsoring it and everything like that. It's very admirable. And it's really exciting for us from the true perspective to see that happening, and to see even small businesses like you guys, like Common Ground, doing that. It sets the bar for some of these larger corporations too. Like, okay, if Common Ground Compost is doing this, like what can some of these larger organizations accomplish? So
yeah, we got to set a really high bar for some of these big companies that have a lot of work to do. And I mean, just to speak a little bit more to that, like we're building this industry. My company, the people on this call, like the zero waste industry didn't exist, at least not in the way that it does now, even just a few years ago. And I think as a participant in that industry, we and everyone else here, whether I'm talking about myself and my company or us as individuals or all of the companies that you all participate in, should be imagining what we want it to look like and then taking action to get ourselves there. You know, and I think also I see the True Advisor certificate as a mechanism for whether it's an individual who is part of a company or an individual who's trying to educate themselves or shift careers or whatever it is, to transition kind of like passion into action, in this way of being able to recognize that they give a shit about anything, and want to take steps to move themselves in the direction of being able to participate in the change that we need to be able to like still have internet and feed ourselves, you know, just to speak to civilization.
Basic stuff.
Yeah.
Basic stuff. Internet and feeding ourselves.
Right.
Priorities. People.
I don't know why those were the two that I referenced. You know, water's important too. Someone asked how long it took our team to achieve the certification. Celeste knows that I needed a couple renewals of my timeline. Blame the pandemic, blame life, whatever it is. So it's been different for every individual. 2 of our team members have gotten their certification, and 3 of them are still in progress. They're like in modules 6 and 7, so nearly complete, kind of in that stage just before taking the exam. Or actually there, yeah.
And just broadly for everyone, once you sign, and we'll cover, you know, kind of questions and more details in a little bit, but just for that specific question, you're given 180 days to complete the True Advisor. Not everybody needs that much time. It really depends. It's about learning styles and time commitments and things like that. But you are given, you know, 180 days, 6 months to complete it. So.
Yeah.
Well, Meredith, it's been such a treat to chat with you. Thank you so much. Would you just, for closing, are there some, you know, last thoughts you want to share with us? Maybe things that are coming up for you guys in the future, things you're excited about, ways you see maybe the waste and micro hauling business changing, coming a little bit, you know, quote unquote, out of the pandemic, whatever that means. Anything that you'd like to sort of close with before we move on to some more of the True Advisor content?
Yeah, I mean, we're dying to see how return to office happens. Hopefully offices still want to divert their food scraps from landfills. You know, we do anticipate seeing a change in how offices serve food generally, which is going to be really interesting. Offices were all moving in one direction and then offices closed. So we have no idea. It's been frustrating because we were building like a really beautiful data set with our waste audits of, you know, what different industries have in terms of the composition of the waste streams and what percentage is what. Not sure, but probably going to have to scrap all of that and you know, start again. On our end, I was actually hoping it would be live by now, but you know, tons of things get in the way. We're hiring a full-time zero waste consultant. So this is our first time ever publicly announcing that. The job description will be available very shortly, by the end of this week, hopefully, as long as we can get everything in order. And I definitely would suggest that folks join our newsletter, which I'll drop the link into the chat for, and also just to kind of keep an eye out in social media. Encouraging people to apply. Do have to be in New York physically. And we have a lot of waste audits coming up and always need folks to participate in those. We kind of pull together teams of contractors. We do paid training ahead of time. It's a paid gig. And those are nighttime audits, 6 p.m. to midnight usually. So even folks who have full-time jobs can participate in them. Do not need to have a true certification to be able to do it, but you do get a lot of experience very quickly. And then, I don't know, I guess I'll just say more generally, like, I'm excited by the fact that an infrastructure bill just passed. I'm excited by the Compost Act, if folks haven't looked that up yet. You know, we're seeing action, which is good and really important. And I'll just say, like, if folks saw the IPCC report and are feeling a little down about it, read All We Can Save. If you haven't heard of that book yet, I highly recommend it. Focusing on the solutions instead of the problems is what should, you know, be getting us through here. And it's how we can work together. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I couldn't agree more. Solutions to problems. That's really we want to focus on those solutions and move through it. And there are so many great solutions. So, okay, Meredith, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and remove your spotlight, but please, you know, feel free to stay on. And I imagine people will have more questions and we can dive into that in a little bit here. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So for the rest of you, I'm going to go ahead and go back to sharing my screen. We just have a couple more slides and then we will dive into some of the questions in Q&A. So I just wanted to provide, kind of a little bit of context on where we're at with the True Advisor right now. For those of you that are interested in how it's growing and changing, we did hit the milestone of 1,000 True Advisors at the beginning of this year, and we are currently well on our way to the 2,000 mark. We're also really excited to see how it's growing globally. And, we will be posting this webinar on our website or somewhere. We'll make sure it gets sent out to any attendees, and we definitely encourage you guys to forward it, especially if you have colleagues or friends or family in other parts of the world where maybe we don't have as many True Advisors. It's definitely a growing community, and we'd love to sort of spread the word about that because we are global. So today we are excited to announce that we do have a back to school discount available for $50 off of the True Advisor, and that's for member and non-member USGBC pricing. And then we also have a half price student discount available on the non-member rate for full-time students only. So if you are a student or know a student, definitely share that information because that is a great thing to take advantage of. And then I also want to call out that we have a fall True Advisor study group scheduled, and registration is currently open. The study group is free, but you do need to be registered for the True Advisor in order to participate. Slots are limited, so do apply soon, but we hope you will join us if you're interested. And now I just wanted to go over a few things for those that are already True Advisors, some things you may or may not be aware of. There are some great ways for True Advisors to show off and demonstrate your learning and your certificate. First of all, you can add your information to our True Advisor public profile in our directory, which is on our website. You can just navigate to the True website, go to the directory, and there's a place where you can add your information. Definitely, if you are even already on there, I recommend checking to make sure all your job information, title, job description is up to date, because I think sometimes those don't get updated, and it's just a great resource where people can go and find all the True Advisors that we have. And you can also add Twitter or LinkedIn profiles for higher visibility as well. And then we also have this True Advisor watermark, which just popped up on the screen, which you should receive as part of your True Advisor welcome email. And this is something that True Advisors can add to their email signature, to their website, et cetera, et cetera. So if that's something that you are a True Advisor and you haven't received it yet, please do reach out and we can get you that as well as some additional content. And then to connect with fellow advisors, and whether you are or aren't a True Advisor yet, beyond our internal True team here, I do recommend joining our True LinkedIn group because it's a great way to connect with that larger True Advisor community. You can connect with industry peers. We share news, crowdsource answers to zero waste challenges, celebrate success stories, and things like that. So you can go ahead and connect with us there. And then I do just also want to highlight some of the education resources that we currently have on our website. And they're here, and also I believe the link is going to be in the chat. But as of February, we have completed a series of webinars shown on the left there called Core Concepts. And these go in depth on each of the categories in the True rating system. Certified projects have shared their case studies and best practices of how the credits in the category were achieved. And the webinars have more detailed tips and insights on the credits. You also often will hear from our certification team, from Emily, to kind of fill in some gaps there as well. Each of these were converted into a course that you can receive a continuing education hour for. And these are, again, available for free on the USGBC education site. We have other videos on our USGBC YouTube channel, including our inaugural True Town Hall, which is shown as a little snapshot here. And we have other, little videos that we've uploaded there as well. And then finally, we have lots of helpful articles on our website on a wide range of topics. Michaela was mentioning the article on the True certification timeline. That's a great one. We also have a recent article on what to do once you've become a True Advisor and how to use that as a tool for success in the future. And there's lots of other great resources there as well. We do have a number of exciting events coming up through the end of the year. Some of them are virtual and some are actually in person. So you can check out our website for details. We do post all of them on our events page. We usually will include them as part of our newsletter as well. So you can keep a lookout for some of those, and we hope to see you. And then just lastly, before we jump into the Q&A, I do just recommend for everyone that hasn't spent some time on our website, we've highlighted some of the different resources that are available there, but we also have a lot of the actual documentation resources, such as the registration, the certification, application, all of those are available as well. So with that, I am going to stop sharing and we can jump into some of the Q&A and breakouts. All right, so I think I'm going to go through and look at some of the ones that popped up in the chat. But now, given our format, I also want to invite anybody to go ahead and come off mute. And if you have a question, you are welcome to ask it. Does anyone have any questions for Meredith, for Emily, or Michaela, or myself, or anything in general?
Hi, this is Mercy. I
Hi,
currently
Mercy.
work with Turner Construction on the sustainability team, and I'm working on getting the True Advisor certification. And I'm wondering if you guys have any suggestions as to what to expect from the exam.
Oh, sure. That's a great question. Pretty much for the exam, all the content is going to be covered in the modules. So there's really no studying that you need to do outside of just going through the modules and some of the, learning objectives and things like that, the little mini quizzes that you're given as part of the True Advisor. But all of that content should be covered in the modules, and it is, there shouldn't be additional studying needed beyond that, if that helps. And I don't know if anybody else from the True team wants to jump in if they have any other thoughts on that.
I would say just a reminder for those of you that don't know, when you register, you get 2 attempts to take the exam as well. That's included with your registration fee. So I think I have a lot of confidence that all of you will pass on the first try, but that's just a little bit of a, maybe a little less stress knowing that you have a second try if needed.
I do see there's a question about the benefits to businesses that are pursuing True certification, and that's a great question. We talk about that a lot, and we actually have some great articles posted on that as well, associated with the cost savings. That's a really big one that we see, is that for these facilities and companies that have these big zero waste goals, actually going through the exercise of reviewing the True rating system and really identifying what some of those credits are going to be and implementing them will often have pretty impactful cost savings for these companies. Things like that bin right sizing and hauler agreements, those are often big places where there's a lot of money being spent, but not a lot of tracking being done. And in general, I think just going through the rating system and using the overall certification as a toolkit for achieving a zero waste goal is a great approach, because it actually provides that framework that you really need to be able to achieve the goal of zero waste. So instead of kind of like shooting ideas into the dark, you have this really good framework that's provided that's going to set those clear goals, clear strategies, documentation that's needed. And then of course, having a third-party rating associated with it is going to just add to that level of verification and validity. Does anyone else want to be brave and ask a question?
Hi, hello. My name is Laure Dupuis. I am co-founder of Rethink Together. Based in Vancouver, we support restaurants and hotels to reduce food waste. Basically, we are working on food waste prevention with them. And I was wondering if you have a lot of restaurants and hotels interested by the True certification. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a great question. We do have some restaurants and we do have some hotels. I think that was an industry that was growing pretty fast prior to the pandemic, and similar to a lot of what Meredith was talking about, we saw a lot of shifts in operation and shifts in the way a lot of these businesses are functioning. So we do currently have, I believe, 2 hotels that have gone through the certification process, and a handful of restaurants, a couple that are affiliated with breweries or hotels, and 1 or 2 standalone restaurants as well. And that's something that we're continuing to get inquiries about. But a few of the ones that I think we're really pursuing the certification, there's just been some changes due to the pandemic, but we're starting to see that come back, which is really exciting. And we get questions about it pretty regularly. So if you do want to see some of the case studies on those facilities, you can go look on our website where we do have case studies posted. And I believe we have a couple of the hotel case studies as well as the restaurant case studies up there. So I do see that we have just under 10 minutes left, which I think would be great for everyone to have a chance to jump into some breakouts. And I'm not seeing any other big questions in the chat. So I think I'm going to go ahead. Oh, Susie.
Yeah, there was just one that probably snuck up, but there was a question for Meredith on how they handle meat as composting. So I think, most folks are thinking about plant food scraps. So any insight there?
Sorry, I missed that. I'll be quick. Generally, anything that was once alive can be composted. So meat and dairy are absolutely compostable, but not all systems are appropriate to accept those materials for a lot of different reasons, whether it's the type of environment that they're in, like a residential neighborhood, or simply the temperatures that they're reaching where they won't be able to neutralize potentially harmful bacteria. Initially, we were using the Bokashi method. So we were fermenting our food scraps in batches and then processing them. Actually, in the early days, they were all being trenched underground. So fermentation and then trenching. Then we built an ASP system, an aerated static pile system, and we were still pre-processing, fermenting the food scraps and layering them into the ASP bin and doing a standard round of composting that way. Then we stopped doing the Bokashi fermentation because it just wasn't necessary. We were achieving anywhere from 150 to 160 degree temperatures in our ASP bins, and decided that we just didn't, biologically, we really didn't need the ASP plus the Bokashi. So now we're just using the aerated static pile system in these cubes, and we've actually doubled plus our capacity. We just we're in the process of finishing 2 more bins. That's more than doubling our capacity to process in the East Village at our community garden.
That's awesome. And my big tip for anyone composting is just always know the guidelines for the location where your compost and food scraps are going. So whether you're dropping it at a green market, or whether you're having it picked up by a micro hauler, or you have a curbside bin collection program through your municipality, just really always making sure you know what is accepted and what isn't, because it really does, almost more than anything else, it really varies with composting. So it's just really important to get that information. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and assign the breakout rooms now. So you should all join shortly. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Here we go. Hi, Christine. Are you there and want to say hello?
I am. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from American Geophysical Union, and we are pretty serious about this right now. I think we're gonna probably be signing up soon.
Oh, great.
One of the biggest questions that we've had though is that because we're a net zero building, we've already done a whole lot of things. We took a break during COVID from composting
Sure.
and don't have great historical data on our trash and recycling. We've been doing it. We've got great data on composting, but that's about it historically. And then we turned everything off during because we were working from home.
Yeah.
So the thing we're really struggling with is, how long is it going to take us to actually build a baseline so that we can then go and establish a real timeline? Because right now, I don't think we have a healthy baseline.
Sure, that makes sense. I will say the thing about the baseline is that it can, I mean, I totally understand if you just like don't really have the data, but if you have the ability to create any estimates based on what you think it might have been, that is something for the baseline that we definitely allow, because really we see that as being more a tool for you guys. It's less something that we have like really specific criteria around, like the baseline needs to look like this and be from this date and et cetera, et cetera. It's really, we have the baseline there to help you guys. So if there's a way that you can work with the data that you have, or sort of maybe like extrapolate a few months based on, what are sort of your general averages, that's totally fine. It's really more than 90% average over the 12-month period needed for certification. That's where we have more stringency. The baseline, again, it's it's meant to be a helpful tool for your team.
So we're looking at probably a 2022 certification then, because we need to build our 12 months, and we don't go back at least until October now. So
right. I know that number keeps changing, right? That date keeps moving around. Yeah.
Great. Well, that's really helpful. Thank you so much.
No, that's great. Yeah. And I'm really glad you joined, and it's always good. And like, we're here and can always reach out with questions and everything, and Emily and Michaela, like they shared, they had some of that sort of like COVID specific adaptation guidelines available too. So you're always welcome to, reach out if you have some of those specific questions, and we're happy to answer. You are not the only one in this situation.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. Well, I see we're about at 2:00, and I think I'm in charge of managing these sessions.
Yeah, I just figured I better let you go.
I'm going to go ahead and jump out and just communicate to the group. But it was so nice to meet you, Christine. Thanks so much.
You too.
Thanks
Thank
for joining,
you.
and we'll talk soon.
Are we free to go? Is it over? Oh, you're muted, by the way. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, I wasn't I? Yes, you are absolutely free to go. When everybody jumps back from the breakouts, I'm just going to just say thank you. But yeah, that's the end of the content. So
cool. So just a quick question. So like I just signed up. So once I paid, it's just like you're on it's a you just do it on your own, right? And then
Do it on your own time. Yeah, we just have a question about the True Advisor. Yeah, you're just, once you register and you log in with your USGBC email that you sign up with, then you just go ahead and complete the modules at whatever timeline works for you. So yeah, you have 180 days, but do it in shorter than that if you want, or take the whole time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then was there a discount earlier? I totally missed it.
Yes, there is a back to school discount, which is back to school 50 is the discount.
Back to school 50. Let me
Put it
just
in the
write that.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like so fast and I totally missed it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we'll get that in the chat for sure. Well, we're going to close out here momentarily, but I just want to thank everyone for attending. Thanks so much for being part of the True community and for being here with us today. We will send that recording out to everyone in the future, and yeah, look for more exciting updates from us here at the True team. And I'm just popping that discount in the chat as well. There it is. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you.